lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. And yes, I have another video for you. I tell you I'm going to be bringing you all this content about reselling and also just business in general to help, because you know what, dare I say it, yes, I am a fashion expert. And if you are about to sell or have been selling fashion items, I think I'm your girl. I can help you. I really can. I can give you a different perspective on how to sell, because this is what I used to work in. I've worked in the industry for forever. I've been reselling for years. And yeah, they pay people like me to help them, navigate their business and what to order and why to order and in what market to order things from. So now that I work for myself, I've been working for myself for years. Um, and even though I haven't been vocal in the reselling community, I have been a part of it for years now, reselling. And I just wanted to, you know, give my little 2 cents. So if you like my little 2 cents, I hope you subscribe. And I will always be appreciative of hearing any comment. And I'm not one to erase comments, regardless if they are for me or against me. I feel I'm a true believer in freedom of speech. As long as you're not saying something, I guess, derogatory, hey, you can disagree all you want. And you know what? Your comment will stay down below. Because there are probably some people who are going to agree with you, and that is just how life is. We will not always agree. We will not always see things the same, but feel free to share. So today's topic is the secret to selling on multiple platforms. Yes, this is actually kind of like a controversial topic, just because many resellers, especially those who are doing YouTube videos, they've leaned very much to one platform or the other. And there are actually some that I will say, like, you should only sell on one platform. You should only choose one platform. Or for some people, eBay is their holy grail. And it's like they don't think to sell anywhere else, or they feel like selling anywhere else is not profitable. And I'm here to say to you, don't listen to that. Okay? Multiple platforms is a beautiful thing. It's actually also, I think, a very necessity. That's not even the right way to phrase it. It is, I think, will in the future be a necessity to be successful and actually make money. The reason why is because, just like that old adage, do not put all of your eggs in one basket. I will say that for each person, again, like I said in my last video, depending on what you're selling, depending on what your sourcing opportunities are, one platform may become more profitable for you, or it just may become just a platform that, for whatever reason, is working for you better than another. But that does not mean, even still, that you should just sell on one platform or focus on one platform. Why? Because we live in a digital age, people, okay? We live in a digital age. And that being said, things get hacked. We live also in a society where cancel culture is real. God forbid, something happens with the CEO of any of these companies, or there's something that comes out, there's a whistleblower that works within their company from, within the organization, and some craziness comes out. There's oftentimes these kinds of activities that cause companies to have drastic reduction in sales, or even not exist at all, simply because something comes out and then people are like, no, I'm going to boycott that company. I'm going to, protest against that company by not participating and being a patron of theirs. And so this is the key reason why I encourage everyone. I do it for myself, is you should diversify your selling. You should see yourself as a reseller, not a Poshmark seller, not a Mercari seller, and not an eBay seller or any other platform seller. You should see yourself as a reseller, meaning that you will utilize the different vehicles to resell. Okay? So I have a couple of tips, because I'm always bringing tips. That's my thing. Today I have just 4. Yeah, this is 4 for me. Just 4 tips. And so let's get into it. So, of course, I have my notes. I do everything by notes. So the first thing is, all of these, I only have four because I feel like all of these are vital to being successful on any given platform. So the first tip is respect the platform that you're selling on. Every platform. What do I mean by that? One of the things that really upsets me is the perspective again that I hear in the reselling community about other platforms against each other. Meaning that they'll say, oh, this platform, I can sell things on here, but I can't sell things on there. So I'm going to do away with that platform. I'm not going to participate. Or people hate Poshmark. Some people hate Poshmark because Poshmark's platform is built around the concept of sharing, and they seem to hate that. And because they hate it, they either don't like selling on that platform or they sell on it reluctantly, and it becomes like something that it drags on them. There are people who talk about Mercari and they're like, oh, I don't even give Mercari that much time. I need to close my Mercari account because I'm not moving anything in Mercari. And my thing is, if you don't give it time, well, how are you moving anything? But that's for a later one of my points. But what I mean by respecting the platform is this. Every single platform has its own algorithm set up and has its own way of functioning. It's its own business. That's like you going into Bloomingdale's and saying you do not like Bloomingdale's because they don't give you coupons, let's say like JCPenney. They're two different companies, but they are both selling clothes. They are both selling maybe women's clothes. They may even also sell one or two of the same brands. But they are different companies, and you have to respect that. You cannot expect one to be the other. This is the same within reselling. This is the same for every platform. Stop expecting one platform to replicate on all platforms. No, they are their own platforms. They are their own businesses. They have their own models. And you have to respect that. Don't complain about it. Just respect it. Because if you respect it, that's how you actually can do well on the platform. Understanding how they function so that you can fit within their flow so that they recognize your listings. That being said, you should study their rules of engagement. Perfect example again. Poshmark. The rule of engagement at Poshmark is that they like the aspect of sharing. You have to share your closet. There are ways of getting around it. I'm not going to discuss those today, but there are ways of getting around it, whether you do it yourself, whether you automate and have someone else do it for you or a service do it for you. Poshmark wants you to actually share your closet. And you know what? Because there are millions of users on Poshmark and they are a company that is public that is trying to get more users, they're expecting you. You have so many eyes your clothing has to get in front of. You have to share your closet, I know honestly, constantly on Poshmark to really get constant sales. That's as simple as it is. You have to share it constantly and you will get constant sales. Now, when I mean constant, I'm not going to exaggerate and say it has to be every hour in the hour, but I will tell you that I have my closet shared at least 5-6 times a day. And I do not share my closet myself. I don't have time to share my closet myself. I have a whole business that I run. I have other things that I do within business. I'm not sharing my closet myself. I pay for my closet to be shared, but it is a fee that I am gladly pay. Why? Because what I get back from Poshmark in sales and in revenue far outweighs the fee. And I just respect the rule of engagement. Poshmark is not eBay. It is not. I sell on eBay. eBay is listed, and the people say listed and forget it, but that's not really true. But Poshmark is the one where they like you to constantly have more of an engagement with the other users, with your own merchandise that you're selling. eBay is more, they want you to create a great listing and then pay for them to take care of the rest. Poshmark isn't that way. Poshmark doesn't have a lot of tools like eBay where you can pay for promoted listings. You can choose to pay if you want to have your listings title bold, or if you want to pay for pictures, or if you want to, there's all these add-ons. eBay is the king of add-ons, and they all add up because you have to pay for these things. Poshmark isn't like that. Mercari, on the other hand, is not like Poshmark and is not like eBay. Mercari, you have to respect also the type of demographic. Each platform has their own kind of built-in demographic that has already become their audience. You have to respect that. So when I sell on Mercari, there are many things that I will sell on Poshmark that maybe I won't even put on Mercari, right? Because Mercari's demographic typically is the youngest of the young set. Okay, they're a much younger demographic. And also they really lean towards trendy. They really lean towards wanting to get a very good deal. And also they're very brand conscious. And what I mean by that, meaning that on eBay, on especially even on Poshmark, you can sometimes slip in a cute item that maybe is not a very well-known brand or even branded at all. Mercari, not so much, especially when you talk about fashion. Now, hard goods, that's different, but not so much because people are looking for things that are in. Brands that they know. And again, it's a younger set. So they're looking for those Revolve pieces. They're looking for Anthropology. They're looking for Nike. They're looking for Victoria's Sport, which does very well on there. So you have to respect also the demographics that each platform has, and they're not universal. And the other thing, you have to respect the customer preferences. Again, what are those customer preferences? Well, shipping differs for all of them. And even what customers' expectations are in terms of the kind of service you're going to provide differs. So customers on one platform, they're always maybe looking for free shipping. Mercari is one. Mercari, especially with clothing, not so much with shoes. Mercari, I saw a huge uptick in my sales when I offered shipping as free across the board. But as in Poshmark, as well as on eBay, customers are accustomed to paying a fee for shipping. They don't necessarily need to have free shipping for you to have constant sales. So you have to respect the platform. Second, this is not a surprise, but it has to be said even in this video, which is consistency matters. But what I want to focus on is not just the consistency of, yes, listing every day, and yes, of, being active, but each platform has its own particular consistencies. We did touch on it already where Poshmark, the consistency that matters there is sharing. That is consistency that matters. That is what really is going to drive traffic to your item, traffic to your closet. Consistency of volume matters very much on eBay. eBay really likes to see a lot of items added. I was on eBay no time. And just the sheer fact that I was listing just 10 items, 15 items every day, they just kept upping how many items I can list. They just were like, oh, here, you can list more items. 2 weeks later, oh, you can list more items. A week later, oh, you can list more items. Because they're a platform that they care about the consistency of volume. They like seeing big sellers. Poshmark and Mercari, they're still relatively new, and they're still getting their feet wet with if they're going to really gear themselves towards professional big sellers. Poshmark is starting to make changes, like they have now started the bulk sharing feature, the bulk offer to likers feature, because they are understanding that people have voluminous closets. They are not just 10 or 20 pieces. People have hundreds and thousands of items now. They're doing this as a profession. And so Poshmark is starting to take note of that, and they have made changes to address people who have larger volume closets. But consistency matters depending on the platform. They have their own consistencies. Another one I'll just put out there is Depop. Depop, the consistency that matters is they love when people try their clothes on. That platform is all about if you want to model clothes or you have someone who can model clothes, they want to see that. They're not a platform for you just putting something on a hanger. Yes, things can sell that way, but it's a very different kind of platform, but it can be very successful. It can be very lucrative. You have to respect the consistency particular to the platform. So, tip number 3 is learn to stand out. What do I mean by learning to stand out is, yes, I believe that you should always have white background as your photo, just because it helps with you to be recognized in Google search, which is something that's very tied to with Poshmark, as well as with eBay. Also, I think Poshmark They have something with like Pinterest. So like there are oftentimes when I'm looking up something, I can type in let me see, BCBG red flutter sleeve mini dress, let's just say. If someone has that up, it'll show up. If I do Google search, it'll show up on Poshmark, and it'll probably also show up on Pinterest. So white backgrounds do matter, but that's not what I really want to talk about in terms of standing out. Learn to stand out in terms of the engagement and being active. So this is more learning how to stand out to the algorithm. And that's going to bring us to our fourth point as well. But the algorithm needs to see you. It needs to not just see that you're active, but active alongside what that platform is gearing towards. So again, people who love to share their closets, the algorithm takes notice of that. People who love to keep putting things up, the algorithm takes notice of that. People who love to sell running shoes, let's say, the algorithm picks that up. The algorithm is picking up all those things because you're starting to stand out. They know, oh, that person sells activewear. That person sells high tier items. That person sells, women's dresses. Like, you may not think that that is what's happening, but it is. I had to flip that hair back. I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't distracting. And so that brings me to my last point, which is the algorithm is looking to make sense out of chaos. This is something I'm going to do a whole video on. People always talk about how to beat the algorithm. One thing I don't know about beating the algorithm, but I do know that we all know the algorithm exists, and we all are sometimes, we're all perplexed sometimes of what makes something sell as opposed to something and not sell. Why is it that some sellers, which is very common, you hear it all the time on YouTube, some sellers can sell a brand that other sellers seem to never be able to sell, and they'll buy like almost the identical item. Old Navy jeans, one seller is flying out of her shop. Another seller on the same platform, they buy it, it's just sitting there. They buy and it's very comparable. I'm going to tell you why I believe that happens from a fashion, merchandising, being in the business, experience, and expert opinion. The algorithm, remember, it's built as a computer to see a whole bunch of data and make sense of it so it can predict. You have to create your store so that the algorithm can understand how to predict traffic to you. The reason why one seller can sell a brand or a type of item and it seems like it doesn't move for another seller when they look at these videos and they hear about like, oh, bolos and, oh, this sold for me and what sold last week and then they buy it the next week. The reason why is because your store has to support the items you're selling. What I mean by that is, let me give you an example. Everyone seems to know what the Dollar Tree is. It's a dollar store. Imagine if you went into the Dollar Tree, right? And one day you went into the Dollar Tree and you saw the shelf filled with Chanel bags. Now, maybe you would jump and run and buy those bags. Or maybe your thought would be, are these real? The reason why your thought would probably be, are these real, is because you're trying to make sense of how can something that is in the tier of here be in a store that's in a tier of here. Now, staying with the Chanel example, in all honesty, almost all of us would still jump and still buy the bags. And we'll think about the repercussions later. Why? Because the brand recognition is extremely high that it would override everything else. The desirability of the item is so high that it overrides everything else. But majority of us do not sell items every single item in our store is not one of the most desirable items. It is a desirable item, but it's not the most desirable, meaning that it's not a Chanel, it's not a Hermes, it's not a Rolex, it's not an Apple product. It's not a product that already in itself has built in a certain echelon of expectation of quality, of, status, where people will snatch it and think later. Most items are items, like I said in my last video, that we have at home, that we have all purchased at one time or other, or that or that are accessible to us. And so they're more common. And if it's more common, then people are having to understand, well, if this is a item that I know typically I would have to save up money for, and you're selling it in your store, and most of the time you sell Old Navy, the algorithm is looking at that as like, well, is this item authentic? Is this item a one-off, and is this something that the customer can't build a sell upon? Don't think that the algorithm has been instructed to try to promote bulk selling. It's not just on you. These platforms want people to buy on them. They want people to sell on them, and they want people to buy on them. So it is good for traffic to be sent to a store that has like items, because the likelihood of that person being able to get bulk orders increases. But if you have tires, and then you have, you're selling, let's just say vinegar, oil vinegar, and then you're selling graphic tees, and then you're selling ball gowns, yes, you may sell all of them at some point. Yes, they may all eventually move. But you may have things that are slow and sluggish because the algorithm is having a hard time making sense. There's no core image or brand to your store, your closet, your listings. For me, I am very brand conscious. I stick to exactly a certain aesthetic. I stick to a certain price point. I stick to a certain quality. I rarely will sell anything that is damaged or has a defect. Very rare. And honestly, the times I have, it usually has been Chanel, because I know that that's going to override. The Chanel is going to override everything. But even with that, I don't want to get returns. I don't want to be known as a person who sells anything to make a buck. I'm just putting it out there, because that's how it seems. Some people, they just want to sell anything to make a buck. I hear people saying, "Oh, well, I'll sell it. I'll just let it be known in the listing that it's damaged." And it's just like, well, now, in all honesty, all of that matters. I think that I want to convey to you, in all honesty, and this is why I put these videos together, and this is why I've now come into the reselling YouTube space, is because I really want to convey that how you interact, not just with your customers, but with your own store, matters. You're creating an image for yourself, regardless if you think you are or not. So be conscious of that, because that's really how the money starts to build up. You have to create an expectation for the algorithm. You have to create an expectation for your customers. So have your store make sense. That's why I've heard there's resellers that are doing consistent sales every day, that all they sell are Old Navy items and Kohl's items. And these are items that only go for maybe $10, $15, but their volume is huge. Why? Because their whole store is like that. So basically, to the algorithm, they're basically an outlet of Old Navy. That means everyone who's looking for Old Navy, the algorithm's sending it to them. Some people, I know guys they're huge in the graphic tee industry, in business and reselling. They're not on YouTube, but I know them. And they make a killing. I don't sell graphic tees often, so I have a couple of graphic tees that, it has been a little slow, because that's not really what my store's image is. It's not that. So, and then there's things that I sell that other people I hear people say that they can't sell. It's hard for them to sell, and they sell them to the real. And I'm like, I have never sent anything to the real. I can sell that myself. But that's because I've gotten my store to the point where it can handle having very high ticketed, expensive, maybe even unknown items, because that's the branding of my store. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope that you guys can even add to this conversation and write comments down, and, subscribe to your girl. I'm coming every day. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone. Happy reselling.